So the PoSSUM program is a citizen science program designed to conduct science in the upper atmosphere. So PoSSUM actually it's a really long acronym that stands for Polar Suborbital Science in the Upper Mesosphere. And there's like, if you think of the atmosphere as a cake and there's layers to a cake, the mesosphere is up near the top. There are icy clouds there called noctilucent clouds, and they are thought to play a role in climate change. And so the program was initially set up to measure these clouds and to find out more about these clouds and to see if there was some kind of an effect on climate change and just on things like, you think about a spacecraft when it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere, could these icy clouds potentially affect that? And so it's a really interesting subject, and so the program was established initially for that.
And of course, it requires a huge amount of training. Can you take us through what sorts of training you've done so far?
So I'm partway through, thanks to COVID. The flight portion's been postponed. But before you do that, you have to learn the academic materials behind what happens to your body when you go to space, what happens if you don't have enough oxygen and that sort of thing. And so you learn about the atmosphere, the science behind the atmosphere. You learn the science behind what happens in your body, and you learn what the environment of space is at that altitude as well.
So what sorts of science will you study when you're up there?
You can do all sorts of things from testing spacesuits. You can test how fluids and different materials react in weightlessness. You can check to see if a particular piece of equipment that you might have designed to operate in space will actually operate in weightlessness. So it's an incredible way of testing and qualifying components for operation in space, being able to do a suborbital flight.
And you have such an incredible background, Kim. You're a space lawyer, which is something I didn't even know you could be. What has been your interest in space? Why have you been drawn down that path?
I've always loved space. I've always looked up at the stars and wondered what's out there. Ever since I was small, and I started as an industrial chemist at BHP Steelworks in Newcastle, actually, when I left school. And I never thought that anybody could be a space scientist or work in space or any of those things. And so I ended up studying at the International Space University under a scholarship back in 2010 and lived in France for 3 months and learnt everything there was about space. And I thought, right, that's it for me. This is what I need to be doing. And at the same time, I went back to school and did a law degree, and I decided that, space law really enables operations in space. So the International Space Station is a cooperative program made up from a number of different countries. And so there's a contractual agreement between those countries that allows that space station to operate in space. Did you know that each module of the space station is actually owned by different countries? And so if you step into the US module, you're under US jurisdiction. If you step into the Japanese module, you're under Japanese sovereignty. So it's a really interesting area. It just excites me every day.
It does feel very futuristic to someone like me who has no real knowledge of the space industry.
Well, I think, it's interesting. Space is something that we don't normally see. It has an influence in our everyday lives through all of the things that we do. We are talking across this link here between two countries because of space services, because of communications. Banking utilises timestamps on all of its transactions. And that little phone that you have in your pocket every day utilises GPS to help you get from A to B and tell you a whole host of other things. And those things are enabled by space services.
You and I are both passionate about seeing more girls involved in STEM. What would you say to a girl who's watching this right now that may inspire her to continue following her dreams along the path of STEM?
So I guess don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. You know, if there's something that you really want to do, that when you think about it, you're always wanting to know more. You're excited. You can't wait to wake up the next day and learn more. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, you can't get a job in that area. Oh, you can't do it. Because so many people told me that. And if I had listened to them, I might have never had the opportunities that I have had. And just don't ever limit your thinking by what other people think. It's only what you think that matters.